The Labour Party was born in the year 1900 during a meeting in London's Memorial Hall, in which over 70 working class organisations, or trade unions, decided to form the Labour Representation Organisation with the aim of putting working class people in Parliament. In 1906 the party changed their name to the Labour Party, and they won 29 seats in the general election. In 1924, with more people allowed to vote, Ramsay MacDonald became the first Labour Prime Minister, but he was only in power for a few months. The party then rose to power in 1929, but they fell again due to economic troubles in 1931. In 1940, Labour joined a wartime coalition led by Clement Attlee, who stood alongside Winston Churchill during the Second World War. But Attlee was a great leader for the Labour Party, and in the first general election after the war, Labour won 393 seats, giving them their first majority in the House of Commons. Whilst Attlee was in power, he nationalised the ministry, started dismantling the British Empire by granting independence to India and Pakistan, and arguably one of his greatest achievements was starting up the welfare state, in which he created the National Health Service, also known as the NHS. The party began to lose steam in 1951, until he returned to office in 1961 under the leadership of Harold Wilson. Wilson brought a period of social liberalism in which he legalised many then taboo practices such as homosexuality and abortion. He made divorce a much easier process, and he abolished capital punishment. But the 70s was not a good period for Labour. Due to huge economic troubles and the winter of discontent, Labour was kicked out of number 10 by Margaret Thatcher for 18 years. During Thatcher's 18 years in power, the Labour Party evolved and developed until Tony Blair founded New Labour, which moved Labour towards the centre, and in the process abandoned many of Labour's core principles, such as the nationalisation of industry. In 1997, Tony Blair led the Labour Party back into number 10, with a huge majority in the House of Commons. During Blair's 10 years in office, he introduced a national minimum wage, as well as starting the biggest hospital and school building programme since the welfare state was founded. However, his decision to support the Iraq War meant that his reputation was seriously damaged. So he resigned, meaning that his power was transferred to the unelected Prime Minister Gordon Brown. After Brown failed to secure the support of the public, there was an election in 2010 in which Labour lost, meaning that the Labour leadership was then handed over to Ed Miliband. Ed Miliband led the Labour Party for 5 years, in which he was unfairly torn apart by the media. In the 2015 general election, Labour lost, and Ed Miliband went to Ibiza, leaving another Labour leadership election, which was won by Jeremy Corbyn. Although there's currently a lot of friction in the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn wants to move the Labour Party back to the left. Now I'm going to give a quick rundown of some of Corbyn's policies, which he gave during the 2015 Labour leadership election. On energy, Corbyn would ban fracking, nationalise energy companies, and consider reopening some coal mines in the southwest. On the environment, he'd push for a binding international climate change committee. He'd fund green projects through reform of the energy markets, and he'd reduce fares and improve infrastructure to try and increase the use of public transport. On defence, Corbyn would scrap Trident, consider leaving NATO, and curb UK intervention in foreign conflicts. On education, he'd scrap tuition fees, introduce a national education service, and remove the public school charity status. On the economy, he'd use tax on business to fund a national investment bank, as well as reintroducing a 50p top tax rate. And finally, on society, he supports the idea of Northern Ireland leaving the UK, he wants to replace the monarchy with an elected head of state, and he wants to nationalise railways. So those are Jeremy Corbyn's policies, and a brief history of the Labour Party.